Welcome to the Westcott Crochet channel and welcome to this berry belted top. If you like the look of this project, let me know with the like button. If you want to see more, please do subscribe and hit the notification bell. Any yarn recommending a 4mm hook will create a similar result. I used a 2.5 and a 5mm hook. I also used a tape measure, a stitch marker and a yarn needle to weave in my ends. Starting things off with a 2.5mm hook and a slip knot. And a chain which runs from the bottom of my top to the underside of my bust. For me that's going to be 45 chains. I'm keeping them nice and loose so that I don't get distortion on row 1. I've worked my 45 chains, I've marked the 45th stitch and I swap my hook now from a 2.5 to a 5mm. I'm going to continue my chain until it reaches the top of my shoulder. For me, that's going to be another 45. I need to make sure I end on an uneven number. That's the second part of my chain. I'm going to chain an extra one to turn. I'm not going to work into the turn chain. So from the second loop from my hook, I insert my hook, yarn over, pull through a loop, yarn over, pull through 2 loops for a single crochet. And I'm going to chain 1. I'm going to skip the next loop on my chain. I'm going to go into the one after that and single crochet. Chain 1, skip the next loop into the one after, single crochet. I'm going to do that the whole way down till I get to the stitch marker. That's the first section of row 1. I'm here at the marked stitch. I've just put a single crochet into the stitch before the marked stitch and I did not chain 1 at that point. I've gone back to my 2.5mm hook and I'm going to put a single crochet into the marked stitch. Then I'm going to take out the marker and pop it into the new stitch. From here, 1 single crochet into every chain loop for the rest of the chain. That's the end of row 1. Onto row 2. I'm going to chain 1 to turn. I'm not going to work into the turn chain. That's always going to be the case. So from the second loop from my hook, in through just the back loop only, so of the 2 loops into the back one and single crochet. I'm going to put 1 single crochet into every back loop up to and including the stitch marker. I worked my last single crochet into the marked stitch and I marked the new stitch. I've changed back now to my 5mm hook. I'm keeping to the back loops, so single crochet into the first back loop, chain 1, skip a stitch, into the next one, single crochet, chain 1, skip a stitch, into the next one, single crochet. I'm going to do that all the way to the end. That's the end of row 2. I ended on a single crochet in my last stitch. From here, I chain 1 and I repeat row 2 over and over. So single crochet, chain 1, skip a stitch, single crochet, chain 1, skip a stitch, all the way down to the stitch marker, ending with a single crochet, and then single crochets all the way down to the end, chain 1 and come back, always into the back loops until I get the width that I want for this first panel. I'll let you know what that is in a second. Here's my first completed panel. I measured it around my body where this section is going to sit, the lower part, and I divided that by 4, and I've deducted 5 centimetres because I want to allow for stretch. This stitch pattern's quite stretchy. So 1/4 of my body circumference for this section of my body under the bust, and deduct 5 centimetres, and that's the width that I've worked. At the top here, it's wider because of the larger hook size. This goes across the top of my shoulder, plus an extra 5 centimetre overhang. That's panel 1. Now that I have that, I need to make 3 more identical panels. I have 4 panels now, and I've joined 3 of them already. So I've got a seam down the middle section here, if you can see on the inside, and a seam on the side. And there's the seam, and I've added a belt loop, also seamed up the shoulder. So all the seams are worked on the inside, so the wrong side, and I've set myself up so that my neckline is formed by the start chain edge, and the exterior seams are the finish edge. Doesn't matter which way you go about it, just as long as they're the same. So I've got my 2 start chains at the neckline, and the seams are worked in different ways for both the start chain and the finish edge. So I'm going to work a finish edge seam next. From where I've just finished off, I've left my yarn attached on the last panel. So I'm going to lay that down so that the finished edges are together on the inside. This is the outside, so they're both facing each other. And I'll just start from this bottom corner here. I've just turned sideways on to work this seam. I'm just going to show you. I'll move that up slightly and fold that over. I'm matching this edge to this edge. On this edge, it looks kind of blunt. My stitches are on the underside as I look at it. On this edge, the stitches are on the top side. In both instances, I'm going for the back loop. So in through the back loop on this side, and the same thing on this side, the back loop. And I'm going to slip stitch a join in every stitch all the way down the seam. On the 2.5mm hook, right from where I left off from the last panel, I didn't cut my yarn. Doesn't matter if you have, just reattach with a slip knot. I go in through the first back loop, the first back loop on the other side, just orientate my yarn. At this point you'd add on a slip knot and pull through everything. I'm just going to chain 1 to secure because it's the first stitch. Again, that's what you do with a slip knot also. So in through the second back loop. Can you see from my yarn there? So second stitch into the back loop, second stitch into the back loop, yarn over and pull through everything to slip stitch. I'm keeping my slip stitches nice and loose, and I do that by pulling it in 2 separate movements. So I'll go through the first loop, the first 2 loops with the first pass, and then through the last loop. And it just stops me from pulling too tight, because if your seam's too tight, it's going to bow and curve. And you don't want that. You don't want a baggy seam, but you don't want a curved tight seam either. So back loops all the way down, slip stitch a join. I'll just show you in a second what it's going to look like. Drop in a couple more. And that's the finished seam. I'm here at the top of my seam. I don't seam up this 5mm stitch section, just the 2.5mm section. I've just worked my last slip stitch I'm going to insert my hook in through both sides, grabbing up a few loops on either side. It's not specific which. Just tighten that off, pull through a loop, yarn over, pull through those loops. I'm also going to chain one just to secure that top section, make sure I've got a good tight join. So here is that finished seam on the right side. There it is on the wrong side. So it's down there. I've left my yarn attached, so I'm going to make a quick belt loop. I do that by simply chaining 6. 3, 4, 5 and 6. I'm going to insert my hook about 4 stitches down, grab up a couple of loops, pull a loop through everything, chain 1 to secure, cut my yarn, and I'll weave the tail end in through to the other side, and we have a belt loop. Next, I need to work a centre join on these 2 start chain edges. I'm still inside out. I'm going to spin around to work the join. Again, looking at what I'm actually joining here on the edges, as I say, they are the start chain edges. On one side I have a little flat section after the last ridge, or first ridge. On this side I have a ridge and no flat section. That's what I'm joining up. Okay, so I'm going to go in on this side into the remaining loop from the start chain. I've got loops going all the way along the edge here. Similarly, on this side I have loops from my start chain, but I'm not using them on this side. I'm going to go in right next to this ridge, so beneath the actual stitch. I'm going to pop on a slip knot and pull it through, and I'm going to chain 1 to secure that. So then again, in through the next stitch from the start chain. On the other side, my next stitch is here, so beneath that, right up against the ridge, I'm going in through there, and I'm going to slip stitch. Oops, eventually. There we go. Start chain, beneath my stitch, and slip stitch. That's what I'm going to do all the way down. And again at the top, I'll make sure it's good and secure by working a stitch like I did at the other side. I'll run through that again when I get there. I'm at the top, just work the last slip stitch. So again, in through anywhere, both sides, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through those 2 loops, chain 1 to secure, and I can cut my yarn and pull that through. This is how that seam looks on the right side. So we just had to do away with this little lip section here to get the pattern to go seamlessly along. I'm back inside out now, and I'm ready to seam up the shoulder. All the way along the shoulder I'm dealing with ends of the rows. So I've got 1 loop, 2 loops, 1 loop, 2 loops at the end of each row, all the way along. Starting here, I've got just 1 loop, which would make a horrible join. So I'm just going to go in through the start here instead. Pull through a slip knot, chain 1 to secure. Then starting with that 1 loop, I'm going to make a slip stitch. Next in through the 2 loops, both sides, and slip stitch. 1 loop, 2 loops, whoops, and just work that all the way down or across. This is the case. At the end, chain 1, cut my yarn. And that's a shoulder seam. And here on the right side. Obviously I worked 2 of each seam where appropriate. All I've got to do now is make a belt. I make the belt with my 2.5mm hook, starting with a slip knot. I chain 3, and into that very first chain make a double crochet. So yarn over, insert my hook into the first chain, yarn over, pull through a loop, 3 loops, yarn over, pull through 2 of those loops, yarn over, pull through the last 2 loops. I've made a little gap. Chain 3, spin around this little section and double crochet into the gap. Chain 3, turn it around, double crochet into the gap. Same again, for as long as you want the belt to be. So I went all the way around my waist, plus an extra bit to hang down at the front. Simple as that. At the end, to carefully weave in this tail end so you can't see it up the belt there, and then weave in all of the other ends, and then you're done. Here's my finished belt. You can see my tail ends are all hidden. To fasten, just feed 1 loop, 1 end loop through the other end loop. Oops, just on the go, and just pull it through. If you do all of that, you'll have something like this. I hope you enjoyed this video. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you'd like to see more. A huge thank you to those who already have, and to everyone, thank you so much for watching today.